Hello everybody, I'm Matt Micucci, welcoming you to a new episode of the Showcast, a series of candid conversations from film festivals and markets everywhere, brought to you by the Film Verdict. A film commission is a specialised office under the authority of a government entity or administrative office that has a purpose of promoting the region through the development of film, video and multimedia production. The AFCI, the Association of Film Commissioners International, is the only global non-profit organisation representing city, state, regional, provincial and national film commission members on 6 continents. Today we'll be speaking with its Executive Director, Jaclyn Philpott, about some of the ways in which it provides commissions with the advocacy, connectivity and education necessary in the screen sector to foster economic growth, how it initiates the groundwork for strong infrastructure, and how it provides the essentials for professional development in a fair, sustainable and socially diverse manner worldwide. We'll also be speaking about the upcoming edition of the AFCI Week, one of the association's major annual events and initiatives, which will be taking place in Los Angeles from the 27th to the 30th of March. The AFCI Week is a multi-day exclusive event open to AFCI members, affiliates and sponsors, offering networking opportunities with entertainment industry decision makers, educational opportunities targeted at enhancing business practices, and much more. All this in today's podcast conversation. So fire up an Audiotini and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. Hi, Jaclyn. Welcome to the Showcast.
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I know that these are intense days because we're in the lead up to the AFCI week. So, and also, I mean, you were telling me before we started recording our conversation, you know, this is relatively a relatively new experience for you. I mean, you've just become the executive director of AFCI. Is that correct?
That is. I was lucky enough to secure this role back in November last year while I was still back in New Zealand. However, I didn't get off the plane and start the role properly until the 11th of January this year. So I think this coming week will be my 9th week. So it's very much sink or swim situation. So far, I think I'm a strong swimmer. I've got a great team of people around me and the members have been absolutely amazing in sharing with me their experiences, their hopes for the future. We've got a great board, a fantastic advisory board who have all been helping curate this amazing agenda we've got coming up for AFCI Week. So it is a little bit crazy, new to the country, new to AFCI, but so far the experience has been a good one.
Let's begin with being new to the country. Any culture shocks?
Well, when I say new to the country, it's a little bit of a white lie because I actually arrived first in September 2021. I had won the green card lottery and had secured permanent residence through that process. Came here in September 21 and just found it incredibly difficult to find a role that I really wanted to sink my teeth into. So I spent 6 months here getting my driver's license, doing all of that admin to be able to live here, getting a bank account, social security number, did a little bit of travel and then found myself without work and wanted to go home actually back to New Zealand and couldn't get back into New Zealand because our borders were closed through COVID. So I spent a little bit more time in Los Angeles and then eventually the borders opened. So I actually went home and worked for Tataki Auckland Unlimited, which is New Zealand's largest economic development and cultural agency who I'd been working with for the previous 7.5 years, working on some transformation work for the city. And then was shoulder tapped to apply for the role with AFCI. So I applied and here I am. I found myself back in LA. So it hasn't been too much of a culture shock in the sense that I had been here before. But now that I'm actually working, there's definitely some cultural differences I found. I've come from an 800 plus organization and I'm now in a non-profit with very few staff. I think the main things that I'm noticing is outside of the workplace actually is one thing I can't get my head around is you say there's a speed limit, but people go 20 or 30 miles over the speed limit. I'm finding the roads quite aggressive here and I'm finding I'm having to be very careful with driving because, you know, we drive on the other side of the road, we are on the other side of the car. So it's all of those little things that, you know, you might not think are an issue, but, you know, they all add up to just having to kind of scan your environment a little bit more than you would normally.
Well, Jaclyn, you should try driving in the countryside roads here in Ireland. It's a very intense experience over here, also.
Well, funnily enough, I've actually lived in Ireland. I spent
Oh,
5 years nearly in England and Ireland back in the early 2000s, which was a fantastic time. So I lived in Dublin in 2001 to 2003 and had the best time. I'm very, very passionate and a strong supporter of the Irish. And, as you know, Symposium is going to be in Limerick City this year in September. So I am very excited to go back to Ireland because I haven't been back since 2008 actually. So
yeah.
it's exciting times. Hopefully you and I might be able to catch up there.
Absolutely. It's only about a 40-minute drive from where I am. So I'm hoping
Great.
to make it for sure.
Perfect.
So this is interesting because we've kind of humanized our conversation a little bit, by talking about different cultural experiences
Mm.
and the personal experiences that you've encountered since moving to a new country and starting this new professional endeavor or experience for you. But I'd like to know a little bit about you and cinema. Because obviously we're talking about the AFCI, we're talking about the Association of Film Commissioners International. So where do you stand there? What is your report with the cinematic art form with films?
Well, I guess, I always look back to when was I first interested in film or the creative industries or in art or telling stories. And I remember that I used to go to work with my dad on a Saturday morning when I was quite young, I think, to give my mum a break. My sister would stay with mum and I would go with dad, and he would just put me into the boardroom and I would get on the whiteboard and create worlds and make stories. And, by the time it was time to come home, he would come in and say, well, what have you created today? And I've always been a bit of a closet writer and writing poems and an avid moviegoer. I'm very interested in marketing and the experience that we have as humans through storytelling and art form. Fast forward to probably about 6 years ago, I was working at Tataki Auckland Unlimited, this economic development and cultural agency, and had been working on innovation and entrepreneurship portfolios and investment attraction. And I was asked to move to the screen portfolio. Back in those days, whenever people thought about New Zealand and the film industry, they always thought about Peter Jackson and Weta, which is amazing because of the work that they do. But Auckland, New Zealand has such a huge amount of capacity and capability in the creative industries, and we really wanted to be able to tell that story. And I had a reputation for getting things done, and so I was asked to move over to this portfolio to see what I could do with it, and that's what I did. And I said to them, look, I don't actually really have any, apart from loving film and loving screen, I don't have any experience in the industry to the depth that potentially you need. But if you think that you believe in my skills around getting things done and being able to, bring people together, then let's do it. So what I did is I went and met with every post-production company in Auckland. I met a number of location managers, producers. I met with everybody I could to really understand what was going on in the industry in Auckland. What did they do in their jobs? How did they get work? Where were the opportunities? Where were their challenges? And from all of those interviews and from gathering that data, I was able to create marketing and activation plans. And I think that's possibly where I got noticed. I was doing a lot of work with the New Zealand Film Commission, working with the regional film offices of New Zealand, helping be a mentor to some of those other offices in relation to marketing. And then that's how I got this role with AFCI. Well, I got into the process, was being shoulder tapped for the role to apply and then going through that process. So my background's possibly a little bit different to other people that have come before me. My background is very much in strategy, marketing, transformation, and economic development. So I think I bring a different skill set to build on the organisation and all of the people that have come before me who have done such a great job already.
Let's talk about the Association of Film Commissioners
Mm-hmm.
International because some people listening might not be familiar with it. Can you tell us a bit about its history and its mission statement, all that good stuff?
Of course. So AFCI was actually founded in 1975. I'm very pleased to say that's a little bit before my time, but it's been around for a really long time. We are the only global nonprofit professional organisation that represents city, state, regional, provincial, and national film commissions on 6 continents. We've got just under 300 members at the moment, literally in every space around the world. So what we do is we provide advocacy, connectivity, and education that's really necessary for film commissions and businesses as well in the screen sector to really foster economic growth and to initiate that groundwork for really strong infrastructure, providing essentials, I guess, for professional development in a fair and sustainable and socially diverse manner. We're really the only organisation that works with the film commissioners to help connect them, make sure they're collaborating with other members. We talk about what's going on in the industry. We create best practices. It's interesting because, there's probably a very small niche of, if you look at every film commission around the world, and not all of them are members of ours yet, they're probably less than 1,000, right? We've got just under 300. But it's such a small group of people. There's not that many opportunities for them to get together and talk about what they're doing on the daily. And their roles are, a lot of it goes unnoticed. So they're unsung heroes of film production. I mean, these studios that we work with, these businesses that work in the film industry, they need the film commissions. They absolutely need them to be able to do production, but they go unnoticed, and they don't get paid for what they do, apart from getting paid by their local governments or depending on how they're funded. So I think it's really interesting that they are unknown and we are somewhat unknown. But I guess we've never really been an organisation that's really promoted ourselves. We've just got on with it.
Yeah, I do think that there's sometimes a little bit of misunderstanding of what film commissions are and what they do. In fact, but it is a lot when we think about it, right?
Well, it's also, it's not only a lot, but it's very political as well. I mean, you've got also every film commission is structured slightly differently. So that's one of the data captures that I want to go on, to have a look at our members to see how are they funded, what is their structure, how many people have they got working for them. Because we have film commissions as members that are literally just coming on board and just creating their film commission, to members who have been around for 20, 30 or longer years. They deal with everything from the right down to permitting and the facilitation. So we need to close a road, or we need to get permission to go into this space, to working with their local or regional governments on incentives, to working with location managers or studios to help get the right crew base. So there's so many things that they can do. And some of them are connected in with their economic development agencies and some of them aren't. So I think that's interesting in itself too, and something that I want to look more into is, what is the trend? Where are these things going? Where are they getting their funding from? Because they don't often get enough funding to do their jobs at a level that's really required.
Yes. And, when we talk about film commissions, of course, we're not only talking about national commissions, but we're also talking about regional ones. Sometimes it's hard for them to talk with each other, even though they're from the same country. So obviously, yes, from just getting an idea, from what you just said, we know we kind of start to understand how valuable, in fact, the work that the Association of Film Commissioners International is, as effectively, I think we've kind of understood by now, it's pretty much the only global organization representing film commission professionals. And you hinted at it in your previous answer, but I want to go over it a bit more. Let's just say I'm a film commissioner. Why do I want to be a member?
I think one of the main things for sure is, and this is the feedback that I've been getting, one of the things I did when I got off the plane literally was started making phone calls to members. I think I've spoken to I think it's about, last count was about 140 people in the last 8.5 weeks. It doesn't sound much when you divide it by 8.5, but considering we've been organising AFCI week on top of that, it's not too bad, I don't think. Everyone is saying it's that collaboration, that being able to pick up the phone and go, this is going on for me. What's your experience been? How can you help me? So we're very much the connective tissue. We're the vital link that strengthens ties between film commissions and the screen industry. It's not only about connecting film commissions to each other, but the rest of the industry too. I think that we foster a community for them. We obviously run a number of events throughout the year. We have our two marquee events, so AFCI Week in Los Angeles and Cineposium, which can be anywhere in the world depending on who wins the bid. But also our representation at film festivals and other events throughout the year is really important. The education side is also really important. There's nowhere to learn how to be a film commission. Most people come into the role from, being a location manager or a producer or another aspect of the industry. They just kind of fall into it. But we run fundamental courses that help people understand what being a film commission is, what are the fundamentals, what it means to be a professional. We also run masterclasses on marketing, management, economic development, and filmmaking. And we also have other community courses. And that's something that I want to do with the team and with the members over the next year, is really relook at our education. I think we recognise that the industry is moving at such a fast pace that we need to keep up with these trends and these changes. Our education is great as it is, but I'm also very much about improving and making sure that people come to us as a one-stop shop. If something has changed, they can come to us and they can find some education on it. So I think that will be a huge part of what we do over the next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys do a lot. And you mentioned one of, there's a few highlight events throughout the year. One of them, we're just a few days away from it, really. It's the AFCI's big event. And this is going to be the really big question of the podcast of this episode, because I don't even know how to pose it. But let me just say, the AFCI week will take place between the 27th of March to the 30th of March, right? These are the dates.
That's correct. That's right.
And before we get into the details of this year's program, what exactly happens generally during an AFCI week?
Well, I think in the past, AFCI week has been quite different, and it's been on a little bit of a journey over the last few years. It's been evolving into something quite different. So in previous years, people might remember, this is obviously well before my time, and this is what people have told me, is that there was a locations expo in Santa Monica, and it was very much based around locations and marketing, film commissions regions. And over the previous few years, especially with COVID, it's merged more into a bit of a conference. The aim has always been for film commissions to not only meet with each other, but also to meet with studio executives and location managers, hence why it's always been in Los Angeles. And so this year, it's very much focused on most of those same things. Apart from this year, we've taken the locations aspect out, mainly because of the venue that we're at, but also I'm very interested in making sure that I curate meaningful events where people can, attend as cost efficiently as possible, because it's not cheap to attend events in Los Angeles, especially with some of the film commissions and some of their, currency strength, etc. So this year we've really focused on making sure we've got 3 days of connections, being able to have time to network with each other, great panels, great education, and some fun things as well. So we've got some receptions with some partners, and we've also got a day where we are going to tour a virtual production studio and go to a secret venue for the launch of Cineposium Island.
Just to give a general idea of the scale of the event, do you have a rough estimate of a number of how many film professionals will be attending? And also, I just remembered, I mean, it just occurred to me, you mentioned the pandemic. Is this the first time that, several of them at least will be able to attend the event in person?
There was actually one last June, I believe, which was slightly delayed due to COVID. But this one will be where I think a lot more people have attended. So we've got 110 film commissions coming from around the world at the moment. People are able to register right up until Monday night before we close registrations. And then we've actually added a live stream element this year, and we've got people attending on the live stream just for the day one. So we're very much in a transitional space at the moment, where I'm really looking at how we curate our events and how people can participate. I've got a strong background in event management and curation, and so I really want to make sure that 2024 is even bigger and better than this year, but it is also more, it gives people more of an opportunity to participate if they can't leave their region. So it will be very much a hybrid event. There'll be opportunities for them to connect through technology before the event, and they'll also be able to still meet with studio executives and location managers through that app or that website. This year, some of those elements won't be happening because of the time it takes to curate them properly. But we're in transition, and we're on a journey, and we recognise that not everybody is going to be able to travel all the time, and our job is to provide value for our members, and we'll make sure that we do that. But this year's program is going to be really exciting. We're starting Monday afternoon. We have Amazon as one of our partners. We're having a fantastic lunch with them, and we go straight into our professional day, which is where we have a really great session called How Will You Handle It?, where it gives the opportunity for the film commissioners to stand up and really talk to each other around what's happening for them in their region, and how would somebody else handle it, or how has somebody else dealt with it. It's a real no holds barred, let's have these tricky conversations with each other type of panel. Then we were kind of moving into some workforce initiatives and case studies around successful programs. We're talking about government relationships, and we're ending that day. It's only a half day with the members meeting, which gives me an opportunity to present to the members what I've discovered through talking to everybody I have been able to talk to in the last 8.5 weeks, what I think the early indications are of strategic pillars going forward, where we're at financially, and just giving people an opportunity to have a chat with me and chat to each other around what we're looking for the next, year, 3, 5, 10 years ahead. We have industry reception hosted by entertainment partners on the Monday night, and then Tuesday very much goes into an executives day. We were very lucky to have, a huge number of executives that will be joining us over the Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got a great case study by HBO and Luke up in Calgary regarding The Last of Us, which is very topical. We're having a chat with Apple, MBS Group, and Amazon about the future of streaming, predictions and possibilities. I was on that panel call the other day. That's going to be very interesting. We also have a sustainability update, very, very important in this industry and across the world in general. And then we're talking about virtual production, what's happening and what you need to know. So we've got some great people on that panel too. We also absolutely have to talk about incentives. So Joe from Entertainment Partners has pulled together an amazing panel with that. And then we're bringing in leveraging data and AI. And I think this is really interesting because I've come from this background of economic development. We very much are creating programs and activities based on research and data. And I think what I'm recognizing with these film commissioners is that their jobs are ever changing. They really need to be able to have those economic development conversations and talk to their governments around the importance of screen and the creative industries in the right way. And data is going to be able to help them do that. So we've got Luminate, we've got Usharu, and we've got Setjetters from a film tourism perspective on that panel, which is pretty amazing. Wednesday is where we've got 80 studio executives coming in to sit with the film commissioners. We've got the physical production power brunch with the Hollywood Reporter. So we've got executives from HBO, MGM Studios, Legendary Entertainment, speaking with Nikessa, who's the editorial director at the Hollywood Reporter. So that will be a very, very good session. And then the afternoon moves into the independence perspective, where we talk about unique initiatives in diversity and inclusion. We then go on to partnering and collaboration to attract production. And then we move into the location manager approach. And we have about 45 location managers coming in the afternoon to mingle with our film commissions. Whilst there won't be the expo side of it, there'll still be the opportunity for them to network. So I think that's going to be pretty great. And then Amazon are putting on the final reception for us before we move into the more relaxed Thursday, where we're off to see Orbital Virtual Studios. So it's quite a jam-packed program. I think people will be very tired by the end of it, but I think they'll also be very happy they've had an opportunity to connect and collaborate with each other and meet some new people in the industry.
Well, thank you for that overview. Yes, there is a lot happening, and I'm glad that we were able to kind of sum it all up a little bit. But of course, I'm sure that, if anyone wants to know a little more about it, the website's there and all the information is there, right? So they can kind of just
That's right.
Take a look and see what happens. As we come to the end of our conversation, Jaclyn, I must emphasize that we've focused on AFCI Week, but this is only a significant yet small portion of what the AFCI does. We talked about some of it. We talked about the AFCI University and the Cine Symposium. Is there anything else that we've left out?
Gosh, I feel like there's so much that we do, and I'm thinking to the year ahead of, how much we've got to get through to make sure that our members are feeling like that they're really well connected. I think that we've pretty much covered it all. We have this great university element. We have these marquee events that are happening. We put on events and make sure that we're connected through the different film festivals throughout the year. I think this advocacy role sometimes goes unnoticed, and we do play a key role in making sure that governments understand the value of film. Sometimes that involves talking to them about incentives, but it's not always about incentives. It's also around workforce development and making sure that the skills are in place, that those programs are in place for youth as they're coming through, understanding what jobs are available to them in the industry. It's not just about being an actor or an actress or the camera person. That is a huge part of what we do is workforce initiatives and skills development. So that excites me as well, coming from my economic development background too, and I'm really looking forward to making sure that we're helping the regions with that aspect too.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a fascinating conversation. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much for listening. And if you'd like to know more about the AFCI, its marquee events, including the upcoming AFCI week and everything else, make sure to check out their website, afci.org. And if you like this conversation, you should know that there are more episodes of the Showcast that are available to you, including some excellent conversations with anyone from filmmakers to film industry professionals, and brought to you by the Film Verdict. Look forward to more being uploaded on a regular basis. But till the next time, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.